For 2 decades, DJ Drez has been rocking this mystical hip-hop, reggae roots, Indian raga vibe, which I appreciate and can't wait to share. Marti Nikko is, I thought, very interesting, the daughter of a jazz pianist. She spent a lot of her childhood absorbing the art and wisdom of great musicians, which led her on this path. So Marti and DJ Drez actually met after high school and have been recording with one another ever since and are now husband and wife. Marti is also a yoga instructor and Pilates instructor, a songwriter, and performs around the Bay Area and the world. Together, they have a 15-year-old son, a 2-year-old baby girl, as well as a Sanskrit mantra album together. And I wanted to share, if you don't already follow them on Spotify or wherever you find music, go ahead and do that. I've now been rocking out to them for a while in preparation of this event. So please join me in welcoming DJ Drez and Marti Nikko live for Yoga Day 2020.
You'll have to unmute. I think you're still on mute.
I knew it was something.
There you go.
Hold on a second. We were getting messages and I was wondering, what are those messages so far away? So welcome. Thanks for hanging out with us. My name's Marti Nikko. This is DJ Drez. And those things are true about us. We met at a very young age and became really good friends quickly and got married on the young side. Celebrated 20 years this year, married. So pretty crazy. Sigh. We made it. Here we are. So thank you for having us. We'll get started. This is really flow and share a little bit of kirtan with you and some stories. We would invite you to turn on your cameras. We have a couple different things happening from side, so that we see that you're with us and participating with us. Less of a performance, more of an interactive thing, even though we can't hear you. So we invite you to chant and very loudly in your space. Get to know yourself, get to know the vibrations of your voice. And you're in your own space, so become friends with those parts of yourself. We'll start with a little prayer just to open. Yeah, so if you want to close your eyes, you can keep them open, no big deal. But just kind of bringing our attention to the space that you're in. You'll draw the circle around yourself. It hugs in the energy, yeah? And then we have the greater circle around our Zoom space, letting us know it's okay for us to explore this inner world a bit more together. We'll call in all the teachers, thanking all of the teachers. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Giving thanks to all teachers. Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Our past teachers, our present teachers, our future teachers. Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Most important, teach yourself. So we'll begin. And this will be call and response. Om Namah Shivaya. May we remain awake to reality and to truth. And there's so much going on right now, a lot of confusion, a lot of people trying to share in the clarity. Yeah. And that's what's beautiful about the bhakti, is that we get to call it in, call all of the teachers and the teachings. And we get to allow the wisdom that lives inside of us to bubble up too. Yeah. So Om Namah Shivaya. It's okay to move in your space to the music too, if you'd like. This will be call and response. And even though I can't hear you, I can feel you. So I do want you to sing. I do want you to chant.
All the most of them hear this.
Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. Your turn. That space is for you. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. Can't be afraid of your own voice. It's the only one you're born with, the only one you get. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. Sing it out with deep feeling. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. Just do it. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. Truth. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya.
All the most of them hear this.
Sing out our prayers. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. 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 Om Namah Shivaya. I'm kind of slipping and sliding on my poster. I just wanted to say, what really draws me to Shiva is not only the strength and the courage and his representation of dispelling fear, Shankara, removing doubt, is that everyone's invited to the table. And we forget that sometimes, especially when we all have different opinions or different experiences or different kinds of education or around these subjects and around the topics. So even the topics of that happened today, I did jump into a few of the rooms to listen to what was being said. And the thing is, with Shiva, you don't already have to know. You don't already have to have all of the experience and the education. You don't have to be good, right? You can be confused. You can be wrong. And to a certain extent, even a bit evil. He will allow you to show up to the conversation. And I think that's a really important reminder as we're all expressing the different parts of ourselves and our different backgrounds and where we come from before we cut people off, especially when they want to actually show up to the conversation, even if you feel they don't have it right. They're showing up to the conversation, so it's important also to be there for the conversation. Right, especially while making demands or requests for change, for shift. And that's really important. So Om Namah Shivaya. Also, I do a lot of chanting with the great Nataraj because we need to accept those parts about ourselves too. That's important. It really is. You don't have to already be good. You just be you. Bring it, your whole self. What we got, Drez? Oh, he said I said Nataraj. So we're going there. I'm just checking out because, we're visiting a space. A friend of ours allowed us to use her beautiful space. And we needed to get out of California. I know a lot of you are actually in LA. And we needed to get away from all the smoke and the fires and things. We just needed a break, and my kids needed to be able to go outside. So we're in Utah in a friend's space. That's why it looks different if you join us for our regular classes that we do online. And I forgot what my point was about that, but let's go. More chanting. What's cool about this mantra is that when you think about Nataraja, right? An ecstatic dancing. Usually you think of fast and hard and losing it in that way. But I'm going to ask you to actually slow it down a bit because we forget slowing it down also can be powerful. And to feel that kind of internal ecstatic slow. Nataraj, Nataraja, Jaya Shiva Shankara, Nataraja, Nataraj, Nataraja, Jaya Shiva Shankara, Nataraja, Shivaraj, Shivaraja, Shambho Shankara, Shivaraja, Shivaraj, Shivaraja, Shambho Shankara, Shivaraja, Nataraj, Nataraja, Jaya Shiva Shankara, Nataraja, Nataraj, Nataraja, Jaya Shiva Shankara, victory, Nataraja. Victory to the one who removes doubt, who removes evil. Jaya Shiva Shankara. Shivaraj. Shivaraj. Shivaraja. Jaya Shiva Shankara. Shivaraja. Shivaraj. Shivaraja. Nataraja, Jaya Shiva Shankara, Nataraja, Nataraj, Nataraja, Jaya Shiva Shankara, Nataraja, Shivaraj, Shivaraja, Shambho Shankara, Shivaraja, Shivaraj, Shivaraja, Shambho Shankara, Shivaraja.
Redeemer full of culture, y'all. Culture, y'all.
There we go. Yeah, the remover of evil and the remover of doubt. Sometimes we need help access to those parts of ourselves inside, you know, with everybody coming at us with all of their ideas and things. And we can get quite a bit covered up. And we start to lose that connection to our instincts, our intuition, our own truths. And not just the truth of like the good and the kind that you like, right? We're very into that. We're kind of into just like looking at what's true for the parts that we like. And then we kind of just go, oh, no, to the parts that we don't like, right? So with Shiva, we take the whole parts, all the parts, the wholeness of who you are, and we get real with what that is. And sometimes it means that we're doing really well, and sometimes it means that we actually need to make lots of changes, right? Change can be hard. It's hard to be in the practice of self-study and being real with that self-study, right? And it's also okay. Shall we tell a story? Okay, I'm trying to think what you got there. I'll tell a story. Let's talk a little bit about, first I'll share a story about Ganesh. Is that cool? If we do that, I should look over here too. Oh, good, more people on camera. I love that. I see you guys. So when I look over here, I'm looking at you because I want to see your faces. I want to know that you're with me. And that one's too far away to see what's going on. So I'll tell a story about Ganesh. You know, we have Ganesh, and we all know who Ganesh is, yeah? Sort of. He rolls with a big belly. A lot of times that will signify to allow yourself to let it all hang out, to be who you are, right? To embrace the aspects of who you are, the various aspects. That it's okay to remove the many masks, to pull back the veil, right? We all have personas we work with. And it's not that we don't need them in our lives. Sometimes we need a persona to do whatever the kind of thing is we need to do. So maybe you're walking down the street and you have an internal sense of possibility of some danger. So you rock whatever persona is going to help you through that moment, right? Or maybe you're in the club and you're up in the club, rocking the club persona, right? But we know those are just parts of ourselves. They're not really who we are, not our true soul self, not the self that is truly 100% connected to the great tapestry, right? We're all threads of this great tapestry. We're all connected in that way. So the idea is that it's okay to have these personas that help us get through the job interview. You know, we're sitting all proper with our hands. You know, you wouldn't walk up and be like, "What's up, Christopher Chapel?" You wouldn't do that, right? You might, well, Drez does it. But you might, you know, sit a little bit more. I don't know. I don't know what an interview is like at LMU. But just wanted to throw that out there, that we might come with a certain persona. It's not any less a part of you, but it isn't you know? So Ganesh says, let it all hang out, reveal you. Yeah, he holds a plate of sweets. He has a long trunk. So we know what he looks like. Anyway, in this story, he's sitting outside. He's hanging out with his brother outside in the backyard. And his mother and father, Shiva and Parvati, right? They are out there too, and they're all kind of having a family moment. Ganesh has an older brother. I say older, some people say younger. It's an argument amongst the community. I'm okay with whatever version you want to go with. I'm going to say older, and his name is Kartikeya, also known as Skanda. You want to show them Skanda? Like Skandasana? No. Drez said, nope. Anyway, his older brother is much more like his father Shiva, strong and fierce, ready for battle all the time. He has his six-pack, and quite honestly, I don't know why they call it a six-pack. It looks more like an eight-pack, but we'll go with six-pack. Always ready to fight, and they get into tussles and fights as brothers do. They really do. So this one day out in the garden, they're fighting, they're arguing, and Shiva and Parvati are like, gosh, we're so tired of hearing these boys fight and argue. We need to kind of get their attention on something. You know, let's create a competition. So he says, hey boys, Shiva says, hey boys, you know, I want to create a little game for you guys, you know, a little competition, a little healthy competition. Right away, Kartikeya, I'm in. Now, all the gods and goddesses have a vehicle. And do we know what Kartikeya's vehicle is? You can type it in the chat. Now, if you graduated from Masters, that might not be fair. He rides a very fast peacock. And we all know what Ganesh rides. A very tiny mouse, right? So Kartikeya right away, I'm in. And Ganesh looks at his dad, looks at his mouse. The mouse goes, and Ganesh goes, okay, Dad, I'm in. What do you want to do? And Shiva says, whoever can make it around the universe 3 times and land right here gets this beautiful shiny mango. And there was a big, ripe mango in the tree. Now, when I heard this story, I didn't know mangoes grew on trees. I didn't even know what a mango tree looked like. There you go. So you learn something new every day. I had to look up what a mango tree looked like. Anyway, they're both in. Shiva says, 1, 2, 3, off. Kartikeya. Dang, guys. He is so magnificent on that peacock. I hope you're looking. I really hope you're looking. He shows off, you know, he's spinning and doing tricks. I'm seeing him. Here he comes. He doesn't even slow down. Off again for the second round. While this is happening, Ganesh is like, what am I going to do? So he sits down and his little mouse comes over and sits down next to him. And they sit for a moment. And he starts to close his eyes. And he starts to breathe. In, 1, 2, out. Right? Just the inhale and the exhale. Oh, look at Kartikeya. Oh, he's going to do a few tricks right here. He just does some spins and off they go again. Wow. Ganesh, after a while doing this, opens his eyes and he gets up and his little mouse follows him. And he goes to where his parents are sitting together, Shiva and Parvati, Shiva and Shakti. And he makes 3 circles around them. 1, 2, 3. And his father takes the mango and he gives him the mango. Ganesh begins to eat the mango. 1 bite for me. 1 bite for you, little mouse. Another bite for me. Another bite for you, little mouse. Oh, here comes Kartikeya. So flossy, that dude. And he comes in, he arrives, and he sees Ganesh eating the mango, and he's like, wow, how did you do that? How could you beat me? I'm so much faster than you. There's no way. And Ganesh had 1 bite of mango left. And did he share it with his brother? Any of you have older brothers? Ganesh ate it himself. So we have Shiva and Shakti, the universe, right? The divine feminine and divine masculine. And we don't have to get so caught up in the, there's a lot of, what do we call that? I'm not even sure on the correct terms these days. But, people concerned about the divine, binary, living in a binary world, there it is. Very caught up in the feminine, masculine, divine, masculine. But, all of that resides in one of us, right? So that we all have those aspects and the ranges in between those two sides, if you want to say, right? So all of that makes up who we are as individuals, yeah? So we don't have to be so concerned about the binary aspect of it and more interested in the ins and all the aspects in between that create the wholeness of who we are. And the more we embrace the wholeness of who we are, the steadier our joy. So with that being said, I think we should chant Ganesh. Oh no, more talking. I'm so sorry. We will, don't worry. I'm sorry if they called it a performance and you wanted more of a performance, but this really is interactive. Say hi. I just wanted to offer out that we are going to chant Ganesh's mantra. And I've been corrected by, I've been scolded, I've been corrected, I've been alternative. Okay, so the way I choose to pronounce it, and you might hear it when I chant, and when I'm chanting very fast, like beach style chanting, then I use this more back of the throat pronunciation. So I'm going to say Om Gang, and then I'm ready to say Ganapataye Namaha, right? So a lot of people say Gam, and that's totally fine too, like more like the way it's spelled. But I do get questioned that a lot about the NG sound. And even some arguments. I will share that we were in Canada doing kind of a kirtan thingy. And I was chanting and giving that option out to people. So I am encouraging to chant what you've learned. And if it's gam, it's gam. And if it's gung, then feel free to use that. I use it for a more technical reason too, just because it helps me out vocally. But in this crowd, I did have, there were a lot of Indian people at this kirtan with us, and I did have a woman yell out and correct me in front of the whole group. I didn't go into an explanation about it. I just said that these are one of the ways that I do it, and if you'd like to say gum, I agree, and I agree with you. Say gum, gum, and I told her that she was Indian, and she would be kind of like an auntie if she was part of my family. She would be kind of like an auntie. So I wanted to, and growing up in the traditions. So who am I to say, right? But I just wanted to clarify that, and I've both spoken to Sanskrit scholars and teachers and whatever. Drez has a story, I think, around this. We'll have him tell it after we chant. So we'll do that familiar chant together, and then we'll turn it into a kirtan where it's call and response. Sharanam, Sharanam, Sharanam Ganesh. Ganesha. May we seek refuge in Ganesh, the seer and the remover of obstacles. So he doesn't just remove, but he actually helps for the clarity of seeing, yeah? To be able to see the whole. Start with the mantra though. Om Ganganapataye Namaha. 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 Sharanam, 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 Ganesha. So your turn, yeah? I'll sing with you. Sharanam, 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 Ganesha. So it'll be my turn again. Sharanam, like it tastes good. Sharanam Ganesha. Oh, your turn. In this space, calling forth that energy of Ganesh, of wholeness. Then we have his beach sound. Gang, gang. Gang, gang, Ganapati Sharanam Ganesha. Gang, gang, Ganapati Sharanam Ganesh. Gang, gang, Ganapati Sharanam Ganesha. Gang, gang, Ganapati Sharanam Ganesh. Your turn. Gang, gang, Ganapati Sharanam Ganesha. Gang, gang, Ganapati Sharanam Ganesh. Gang, gang, Ganapati Sharanam Ganesha. Gang, gang, Ganapati Sharanam Ganesh. Gang, gang, Ganapati Sharanam Ganesha. Gang, gang, Ganapati Sharanam Ganesh. Gang, gang, Ganapati Sharanam Ganesha. Gang, gang, Ganapati Sharanam Ganesh. Your turn. Jaya Ganesha, Jaya Gananata, Jaya Ganesha, Jaya Gananata. We'll go back to the mantra. Om Ganganapataye Namaha. 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 Keep chanting, but let it fall back to you. Om Ganganapataye Namaha. Till it becomes a whisper. And then an internal sound. Jai Ganesh. Jai Ganesh. I'm going to have Drez actually tell a story about pronunciation. Go ahead.
It took me a moment to realize, but I know what she's talking about. Yeah, so one of the first mantras that I first was taught was asatoma, and if you know this one, it's long compared to some others, and so my teacher taught it to me, and I had about a week or two to just practice on my own before I saw her again, and I was really looking forward to seeing her again, to make sure I was doing it right, because I was having really beautiful experiences, and daily, just going and going and going, and so when I finally saw her again, she was like, "You have it mostly right, but you're so what the mantra has to do with is bringing the light to the light to the dark and the real to the unreal." And so she moving from unreal to real, sure. And so I recited it to her, and she was like, "Yeah, that's good, but you're hanging out in the darkness." And I'm like, "Oh no," like, you know, and because I thought I was on it, you know. And she said, "It's okay." And she told me the story of a young yogi sitting on the side of a river, and it was a deep flowing river, and he's sitting with his he's sitting with his mala practicing japa, and he's going and just going, and he's deep in it. And there's some elders across the river. They could hear him enough to hear that he is doing it incorrectly. And so they're like, young man, or well, they were talking to each other. Yeah, they were like, oh, he's never going to get to where he wants to go. He's not going to experience samadhi. And so they're like, young Baba, come here, there's a bridge, and he snapped out of it, and he got up. He just saw them going like this, so he got up and just started walking towards them on the water. And they said, never mind. So the idea is, like, we want to really do it correctly, as far as to pronounce things with not only so like it sounds proper, but to do it with respect. And not only that, like, you could compare it to, like, if you want to go to djdrez.com and you spell my name with a S, you're not going to get there. You know what I mean? That's the idea behind it. But the other thing is, like she likes to say, is to care without a care. You care, but you don't let that rigidity get in your way of still moving forward. Another just side story, like, there was what first opened the door for me, like, spiritually, like, away from the constraints and the rigidity of organized religion, is Rastafari really opened the door for me. And for many, many years, I took myself really, really serious. And the vow of growing locks, they were to my knees, and they were really big, and all these various things. And I realized that the combination of taking myself too serious and the building up of protection was building a wall around myself that I thought it was protection, but it became a wall around myself, hard to get out of. So that's where yoga came into my practice. That's a long story for another time.
Yeah, I'll just share that we have to find the balance between the two. And I know in the studies, I'm sure there's a lot of Sanskrit learning and practicing, and it's so much, right? It's so much. Some of you are probably like, no, it's not so much. But I will say that, I recorded a Saraswati song, and I had a Sanskrit scholar actually call me and leave me a message and said, that is horrible. You're pronouncing everything wrong, and I think you need to re-record it. And that actually came out on one of our records. And so I took the more proper pronunciation, the one that I was taught by him, and I started chanting that. And then I had crowds of people saying, what are you doing? What are you doing? My point is, and the subtleties were different. And then now
she didn't have crowds of people saying, what are you doing? The truth is, it was this one Sanskrit scholar. He's a good guy. He's a great guy. He's well-intended. With that being said, he's very strict and rigid, and he just happens to be white, is what it is, all right? Oftentimes, if we're just going to keep it real, oftentimes, not always, the yoga police are white people. Just, since we're talking real with each other. We have a dear friend from India. She called, and he's a teacher himself. His wife is a teacher herself. She's actually, since everybody's into being so scholarly, she is as well, and very beautiful classical Indian musician. And they were like, you're fine. They were like, it's both ways. There's artistic interpretation and then some.
We're not going to chant this, but I'll just give it an example. I think I was saying, Saraswatyai Namaha. Saraswatyai Namaha. And they went Saraswatyai Namaha. And then I talked to another Indian teacher, and she said, well, actually, Saraswati, Saraswati, Yai Namaha, right? So I was practicing all these sounds, which were so different, and I started to get really uptight and uncomfortable, and it started to make me not want to chant to Saraswati, which is very weird because she is the goddess of arts and music and, studies. So then I started to think, you know what? I'm sure people feel my intention, and I don't want to do it, I said.
No, we have to do it.
Oh, geez, Drez says we have to do it now. So to care without a care. So we put care in it, intention. I was trying really hard. All the 3 variations. We're going to use the Saraswati Namaha. Is that okay? Is that okay? Saraswati. Oh, good. Yes. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. Seriously, it kept me up, and I did several more recordings with different pronunciations just so that there would be options. This is a sing-along, so you just chant with me. Om Aing Saraswatyai Namaha. Om Aing Saraswatyai Namaha. Om Aing Saraswatyai Namaha. Call her in. Om Aing Saraswatyai Namaha. 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 And she still touches me every single time. She fills me with grace. And that's all we're really doing with bhakti. Anyways, we're just putting out our sails like in a boat. Catching all the grace all around. We're sending out our prayers. We're taking all the parts of us that we tuck and hide and, try not to see. We allow that. We go into those pockets and we pull that out and we send that out. We let that go back to the ether. Yeah. We send it out with our prayers for ourselves, for our families, for someone who you might know that is even struggling a bit, and then for our whole world, for our interconnectedness, for our tapestry. I'm glad we did it. Thank you. Here she is. We travel with this, we travel with a little, I have like my own travel altar with the different deities. And she's sitting right here with her Vina in her lotus with both feet up, just in the flow of things. Yeah. Helping us to remind us to be in the flow, to be in the flow. So I don't know why I was getting so caught up with the variations of the pronunciation. But you know, I do want to do things well and respectfully. You know, there are a lot of things that Drez, as you can see, this is not traditional. You know, I do have a harmonium here, but I'm not going to be playing it today. But you see, this isn't traditional. This isn't traditional. What the traditions are the weight and fullness of the mantra, right? But the sounds and stuff that you hear and things are of our own creative contributions.
I just want to say that I think it's really important that because yoga truly is a practice. That's really what it is. It's a practice. Studying it is great. It's great. But it's really, the practice is a study of yourself. And I think it's important that we acknowledge that right now is just as important as then, whenever then was. If we're talking about the Bhagavad Gita, Mahabharata, whatever, like right now is just as important. And all those stories, all the fighting and the loving and the revolution and everything is going on in our lives, and like it's constant. It's part of our experience, and I just think it's really important to acknowledge that right now is just as important as ever, and that we evolve. Everything evolves. The universe expands. It is the truth, and part of that expansion is our evolution. And I remember when I first, I've talked to some of the first like DJs, you know, people without acoustic instruments that stepped into the yoga world or yoga studio for sure. Long story short, I used to get a lot of shit from people. And what I mean, ultimately, the older musicians who thought what they were doing was, you know, the traditional way. And I'm just like, dude, you got a guitar. What are you talking about? There's nothing traditional about that. You know, for some reason, it was always the guitarists who were like mad. It was weird. It's funny, just another side note, our son just started playing guitar, and her dad is a jazz pianist, and he's like, my son's name is, our son's name is Levi. He's like, Levi, be a musician, not a guitarist. It's interesting, just you know. Anyway, look, the point is this, is that there's a lot of, it's a big conversation. I wish we could like sit together. I miss sitting with you, because so we could just throw things back and forth. Tradition needs to be loved and respected and looked at, and we need to build on it because we evolve. This yoga practice is alive. The mantras, they are alive, you know. All the good books from, you know, obviously all the Vedic in everything, to the Bible, to Quran, and then some. All these great books, they are living documents, and we don't treat them that way. Or the fundamentalists don't. So let's be aware of that stuff, because it's part of the way we become ugly, and as people, as human beings, and all the things that are going on in this current, all the things that have been brought to light, I will say, with white supremacy being so in the forefront of everything. It's always been there, but the idea is to dismantle all the ugliness and all the things that aren't true, the things that aren't serving us. They're not serving humanity. Like, do you want to, who wants to live in an untrue situation? Yeah, it's interesting. There was another conversation this morning we were watching about everyone was speaking so academically, but to the point of it's not, if you're a normal person, that it was very, or it could be very hard to follow, or you just like turn away and you step away and you eat your hummus, instead of really listening, and the importance of just being able to speak to people and connect. And I'm just thinking, like, man, there's a word for it. I can't think what it is. But for academic speaking, that part of it is you speak without emotion. I'm not that dude. Like, that's why I usually don't say much. It's funny that I'm talking this much right now. But I let the music do the talking usually. But I feel like it's important, especially because like it's LMU and I've been there for certain things, and I've seen a lot of amazing people. Let me rephrase that with all due respect. And I'm not talking about LMU specific. I'm talking about yoga teachers. Teachers with such beautiful knowledge and such beautiful well-studied teachers, and I call it beautiful rhetoric. But then I could tell the teachers who don't have a home practice. I could tell the teachers where everything is from a book. I remember I was DJing this retreat, and they were doing like the day they were talking about the chakras, and they were literally teaching from a book. And I was thinking, that's not fair. You're not teaching from experience. You're literally just really regurgitating what your teacher said. And that's just the importance of practice. And yes, study is part of it, but practice is like, anyway, I don't know how to speak without emotion, so.
Yeah, and not that his language needs any interpretation, but we were listening earlier. And somebody actually brought up the question and said, even the academic language that some of you are using, what do you think about, or have you considered the language that you're using? What if somebody who isn't an academic person is in this room for Yoga Day? How do you think what's your effect on that person? And are they understanding just as much? And it's not like high or beneath, it's just the language is different. So we also want to make sure that as teachers, as educators, and when you're sharing with your group, that you're communicating accessibly. And I think what Drez is also trying to say, when you have an embodied practice of all those things that you're learning in theory, and in language, and in movement, and all the aspects of yoga, including the bhakti practice, that embodied experience helps you to be able to find the accessible language. If you just learn it and you're just regurgitating with your teacher saying, there's a miss, and he's saying he's witnessed the miss a lot because he stands in this position most of the time in all of the events and that sort of thing. So the seat of the observer, actually. So he watches a lot and listens a lot, has been with many great teachers. So just a reminder, I think, because a lot of you are educators or learning to be educators, learning how to be educators. And that's what, when we say making it accessible, part of what that means. Because we haven't all had that kind of academic approach to who we are, including our yoga studies, right? That's when I take a break and go get something to eat or something, is kind of what he was saying. I didn't break to eat, I was listening. I was fine. I was fine with the words that were being used. Yeah, we got to sing. This is what happened. What happened? Sorry, but we know this is who we are. So this is what you get.
Here's the thing. The truth of also going back to this real quick. Look, is part of kirtan is telling stories, and it's not always a story of. It doesn't always have to be a story from a very old scripture. It could be right now. And that is also my point, is right now is just as important, and actually more important. That's what yoga teaches us.
When people say they're sharing their lived experience, right? I don't know what this is. Radha Rani, the great queen Radha. Maharani, the great queen. Ki Jai. Radha Rani Ki Jai, Maharani Ki Jai, Bolo Radha Govinda Ki Jai, Jai Jai. Sing with me. Radha Rani Ki Jai, Maharani Ki Jai, Bolo Radha Govinda Ki Jai, Jai Jai Govinda Gopal Govinda Gopal. Radharani ki jai, Maharani ki jai, bolo Radha Govinda ki jai, jai jai Radharani ki jai, Maharani ki jai, bolo Radha Govinda ki jai, jai jai Govinda Govinda Gopal. Thank you for listening to that one. And if you are chanting with me because you knew it, and if you were just feeling it, I felt you. That one will actually be coming out on a White Swan record, maybe in the early next year, probably. We have started to share this one with people, and they always ask, and it'll come out on White Swan Records. It's a remix of an original instrumental tune that Drez had put out called Yearning, almost instrumental, called Yearning. There is vocals, you're right.
And just to be clear, I got nothing against guitar players. Just saying, like there was obviously like guitar on that track. Yeah.
Our son is a guitarist now.
I got guitar.
and Drez has a guitar. And so he himself is learning how to become a guitarist.
No, a musician that plays guitar.
A musician that plays guitar. Oh, no. No. Stop. Okay, story time. I have no idea what time it is, but I have to tell a story. I'll go fast. I'll tell a very short story of a very long story, which is really hard. Oh, shoot. Okay, so really quick story. And I think it's relevant to the time because, we're talking a lot about social justice and about what we can do and compassionate action. I think Marcia is that her name? Marcia, I think was her name. Could be messing that up, and I apologize if you're listening. But she spoke a lot about compassionate action, which made me think about people who have a lot of wealth. It's their job to share the wealth, and people who are in power, it is their responsibility to also create space for people to be able to empower themselves, right? Just with all the teachings, it's not that the teacher gives it to you and then, oh, hail the teacher. It's actually that you process the information yourself. They're making the offering as teachers, but then you actually have to do the processing, the work, the digestion of that. You're a chemist, right? And that's how we can practice discernment and containment as well. We forget those aspects because we're so ready to be like blissed out, arms up, open, but I think it's just as important to also use discernment for the information that you're giving and how you're processing it within. That's your responsibility too. Anyway, my point is that a very powerful person can put them in a position of service. And I love to share this story. This is just a version, so if you heard a different version, don't get mad. It's just a different version. Okay? So we know Shiva and Vishnu, the god of sustaining, right? Shiva of transformation. They say destruction. I always think of transformation, and in transformation can be a lot of destruction. We can put to death a lot of things, and to be able to be born, be born out of that something new. And so anyway, Shiva and Vishnu are really good friends, really, really good friends. And one day they're hanging out in the godly realm, And Vishnu's like, oh man, I see down in this worldly realm that there's just going to be a problem. And we got all these demons running around trying to rule the world. And I'm going to have to go down there and set some things straight. I can tell. And Shiva says to Vishnu, hey, I can help you out, brother. Let me help you. I don't know if he says brother. I've been watching Vikings. I've been watching Vikings too. So, am I the only one laughing? Anyway, check it out if you want. I think Drez has some Viking blood. Okay, sorry. Back to the story. So Shiva offers to Vishnu, hey, I can help you out. I can go down there with you, friend, and help you out. Vishnu goes, no, I got this. And he starts to whirl down to the worldly realm through a transformation. At the very same time, there's a king in this world who wants so desperately to have children. And he has his main wife and then many other wives. They had that back then, main wife and many other wives. We have it now too in some areas, I suppose. Hey, we're in... I don't know if I should repeat that. He said, hey, we're in Utah. Anyway. We'll get it together. Hold on. Getting it together. Anyway, the king really wants a child. So he's practicing all of these different prayers and pujas and stuff to Shiva to make this kind of happen with at least one of his wives, hopefully the main wife. At the very same time, another part of the world, there is a queen monkey goddess. And she really desperately wants to have a child too. And so she is also doing many prayers and pujas for Shiva. And Shiva is noticing this. He's up, he's observing and noticing this. So he offers this pudding to the king and his many wives. I always think that's strange, pudding. Doesn't that sound kind of weird? And I usually decline pudding. I mean, really, if somebody offered you pudding, would you? I usually say no, thanks. Anyway, it just sounds kind of, I don't know what. But it was an honor for this king to receive. So he gives like half to the main wife. And then he starts to divvy up the rest for the rest of the wives. So a little bit less for the second wife, a little bit less for the third, and so on. I guess your value goes down, maybe, in the order of things. A little piece of that pudding kind of slips out of the bowl, and Vayu thinks, oh, Shiva, wouldn't it be great to give this to the monkey queen that wants her child so desperately? And Shiva, in that same breath, starts to bring his essence and spirit, infuses with that or whisks it to the queen, the monkey queen. So she ingests it. The king got lucky. His main wife, who ate half the pudding, was pregnant. And who was her child? You can throw it in the comments if you want. Go ahead, take a guess. Anybody? Okay, we might be on delayed internet. Ram. And that essence of Shiva, that spirit of Shiva coming down and fusing into that pudding that was ingested by the queen, who got pregnant and had a baby monkey. Who was that? Hanuman. That's right, Hanuman. Okay? And what's beautiful about this story for me is, do we know the role of Hanuman and of Ram? They're great friends, right? And Hanuman serves Ram for his entire life. So when you really think about that, the friend, Shiva, this powerful being, right? This powerful spirit, this powerful God of transformation, infusing his spirit to then serve his good friend, Ram, an avatar of Vishnu. for an entire lifetime to serve, right? One of the most powerful gods, to spend an entire lifetime serving his best friend Ram, Vishnu. And so we will chant. And if we were talking to Hanuman, would he say chant a Hanuman chant? I'm going to say no. He's going to say chant Ram, right? Okay, so shall we? Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, victory to Ram, who's out there fighting the battles. It's a long story. I'm sure you read it, right? Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. It's long. I'll go and then you go. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jaya Jaya Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jaya Jaya Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jaya Jaya Ram. Jai Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Your turn. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jaya Jaya Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jaya Jaya Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jaya Jaya Ram. Jai Jai Ram. And we go again. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jaya Jaya Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jaya Jaya Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jaya Jaya Ram. Jai Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Your turn. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jaya Jaya Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jaya Jaya Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jaya Jaya Ram. Now you have to take a risk with me. It's your own voice. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jaya Jaya Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jaya Jaya Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Rama, Jaya Jaya Ram. Jai Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jaya Jaya Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jaya Jaya Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Rama, Jaya Jaya Ram. Jai Jai Ram, Jai Jai. Oh, 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 Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jaya Jaya Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jaya Jaya Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jaya Jaya Ram. Jai Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Chant. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jaya Jaya Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jaya Jaya Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jaya Jaya Ram. Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jaya Jaya Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jaya Jaya Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jaya Jaya Ram. Jai Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jaya Jaya Ram.
Lord.
Yes, love. Sometimes you get what you get, you know. I don't know if you can see these bright lights on his machine.
Every once in a while, I hit the wrong button and it happens. Yeah.
But it's always exactly what we need to hear. Love. I heard love. So exactly what we needed to hear. Let's share another. We really love what we do. I don't know what else we would be doing if we didn't do this. And that's why we care so hard. We really do care hard.
It's funny, I keep grabbing this mic. Just talking about caring hard, and like, that doesn't mean that you not to experience joy and be silly. I just want to say this too, is that yeah, we're doing this with turntables and all that, and we come from like a hip hop, reggae, soul, jazz background, and we have fun and we're silly and all that. And with that being said, we don't dumb down the practice, and that's really a big deal to us. And that there's so much I could say around this. I'll just one thing is, like, every once in a while people hit us up on like Instagram or whatever, and they're like, "Hey, we're doing this." I'm gonna make it up because I'm not gonna do the real one. You know, people say these things like "Namaste, bitches" and things like that, and they think that that could slide with us, like that's okay. And it sounds really ugly and really disrespectful. And sometimes people want us to promote these things. Like, I made this shirt, and it. Yeah, well, I'm not going to say anything personal. Yeah, I mean, I could say all kinds. No, but they say these things, and it's just like, I mean, you could be silly a little bit, but there's certain things where you're just dumbing down. I call it like it's shitting on the culture. It's shitting on the practice from within, and that's really it's really saddening, and it's really just ignorant and dumb. And calm down all the shirts and all the just dumb shit. Like, there's no need for that. There has to be some things. Some things got to be sacred, right? And silly and fun, and you know.
Yeah, all of those things. Sacred doesn't have to, yes, sacred and sweet and held with soft hands. You know, because I think sometimes when we use a word like sacred, it can get really heavy, and we don't want people to misunderstand that what we're doing also feels very sacred to us, but we're sharing it in a big way. You know what I mean? It's not, you don't have to belong to our club to share it with us. Do you understand what I'm saying? I don't even think we have a club. Do we have a club? We don't really have a club, but you get what I'm saying? Like, yeah, everybody's invited to our space. He said we're like Shiva, you know, everybody's invited. So we're inviting everybody because we want to show up for the conversation. And you know, sometimes we have it really right, and sometimes we have it really wrong, and it's okay. I'm okay with that. And I think when you soften around that, that's when I say when you hold all of this sacredness, the teachings, everything with soft palms, a soft grasp. Because one moment your reality is something, and then the next day it can be something, you know, you get hit by a life truck. I just mean like those big life things that change your entire perspective, right? Your entire understanding. Some of you have already been hit by life trucks. Some of you will be hit by life trucks. We all will have a life truck or 10, because that's the part of being human, and that is part of the human experience. And what these practices help us do to navigate through those situations. And as this mantra, since we're talking so seriously, removing the fear of death. If you know it, just chant along. Open your eyes. And if somebody's so brave, you can even type it in the chat. Somebody who's already familiar with this mantra. Mrityunjaya. Om Trayambakam Yajambahe Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam Orvarakamiva bandhanan mrityormukshiyam amritat. Om Trayambakam Yajambahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Orvarakamiva bandhanan mrityormukshiyam amritat. Om Trayambakam Yajambahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Orvarakamiva bandhanan mrityormukshiyam amritat. Om Trayambakam Yajambahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Orvarakamiva bandhanan mrityormukshiyam amritat. Om Trayambakam Yajambahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Orvarakamiva bandhanan mrityormukshiyam amritat. Om Trayambakam Yajambahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Orvarakamiva bandhanan mrityormukshiyam amritat. Bum 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 bum. Om Trayambakam Yajambahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Orvarakamiva bandhanan mrityormukshiyam amritat. Om Trayambakam Yajambahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Orvarakamiva bandhanan mrityormukshiyam amritat. Raise your hand if you knew that. If you knew that. That's a pretty big one for me. I chant it often and in very serious ways. It's interesting, you know, I feel like I should share a little bit about this. I had a friend who was like, why is that so hard? You know, but if you learn the words behind the mantra and you understand the essence of it, it's pretty serious for me. It doesn't feel light. It doesn't feel like Om Trayambakam Yajambahe Sugan. It doesn't feel that way to me. It's okay if it feels that way for you. I can't say. It feels like I'm trying to cut through, you know, or like we're all on the march with Shiva ourselves. You know, trusting. There's a moment in the music that breaks down that you heard the boom, 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 boom. That's intentional, boom, boom. You know, almost like he's stomping his feet and shaking the lotus open for us, for our freedom and liberation, you know, so we can free ourselves from that very real fear of death. Because we're all moving the same direction. We know that for sure. And death is part of life. It's part of our humanity. So, and also the aspects of the sound in the music for me, if you hear that clapping, to me that's like old spiritual sound, and I'm talking about Negro spiritual sound, an American Negro spiritual sound. That clapping, I asked Drez to put that clap in there, so it held the weight of perseverance, of needing to move through sometimes.
Most of the beat is feet and hands, like and what we do with our hands and where we go with our feet in the depths and the pain and
So yeah. But you can smile again. We can smile again. Don't worry. Don't worry. We get serious and then we get light and we get serious and we get light. How are we doing on time? Oh dear. Oh my goodness, oh dear. Okay.
It's up to you. One more? Or
Yeah, I think we will. We'll do one more. We don't want to end on that one. Well, we can end on that one, but we don't want to. We want to give just a little bit more.
Keep it coming. One more.
Okay. for sweetness and for compassion, for the yearning that never goes away, for the times that we feel complete and where we feel separated. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Thank you so much. So beautiful. I love to chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Radha and Krishna, Radha and Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, the separation, Hare Hare, of our soul self to our great tapestry, to the one God, source, whatever you want to call it. And we just remind ourselves through these practices that that yearning can be like a small little babbling brook, and you say your prayers, you practice your bhakti, yeah? And sometimes it's like a raging river, and you know what you do? You say your prayers, and you practice your bhakti. And we hold everything with soft palms so that we can grow, so that we can always be students to these great teachers, right? Past, present, future teachers, and the one that resides within. We thank you so, so much. We really do. Do you want to say anything last?
Just big thank you. Serenity, Tanya, Chris, we appreciate you. We look forward to like meet you all and be able to like talk back and forth and argue if need be, and laugh and have fun and agree. And yeah, thank you. We'll do it again and again and again and again. We're easy to find on Spotify and iTunes and Instagram and all that kind of stuff. And we got records, music, Dreaming in Sanskrit. Is a series that we do together. And we have 2 of them. And the name, just a little side note, the way that name came up is like, there's been times where I wake up and there's some kind of like mantra going, and it's just like, yeah, dreaming in Sanskrit, that's a good one. Do we want to answer any questions or ask any? Or?
Sure, we can if you guys have a few questions. Nothing too difficult. We can have like 5 minutes after the show, when we hang out, if you have any questions. But I just wanted to add what Drez was saying also about dreaming in Sanskrit. If you think about dreams and how they're a little bit fuzzy, that's also how we wanted to present the work that we were doing, that it's rooted in something real and something that we studied and love and respect. And it's also infused with some of our art because we're artists. So it's rooted in something real, but it is also infused with art. So there's interpretation around it too. So again, you're holding it with soft palms, those pieces too, right? Because you'll do the other kind of study too, right? To get it good for yourself. If anybody has any quick questions, you can type them in the chat, or you can even unmute yourself. We may not have answers. You can. We see the many thank yous. Thank you for joining us and sitting with us. It's actually our little, kind of like a little vacation for us. So I'm glad we were still able to have some Wi-Fi and tune in with you all. Yeah. Anyone? Don't be afraid. Or be afraid and ask anyway.
Now's your chance.
Go ahead.
No, I just said now's your chance.
Yeah, now's your chance. I'll just also want to share while you're
Here we have one.
thinking of a question, that Drez and I, we teach an asana class on Sundays usually, and so we're off tomorrow because it's a travel day for us. But most Sundays we have a practice as well. We include the bhakti practice. It is hatha yoga, with an emphasis on vinyasa, but it is accessible, and if you'd like to join us, you can find that on my website. It's martinikko.com. Anyway, I just wanted to share that in case you want to sit with us or practice with us in any way.
Marty, I invite you to put that in the chat so that they can link directly, if you don't mind throwing your website there. And Calvin asks, how long did it take you to develop your style?
This style of kirtan or style of music, I guess. Drez has been DJing for a long time, since 90-something, early 90s. Hip hop clubs, and influenced by all kinds of music.
Something I make it always a point to talk about is the depth of hip hop, and hip hop is not really what you hear on the radio. That's usually like commercial rap, even though it may be a part of hip hop. There's a whole thing about it. But what it's done for me is because hip hop samples music, it is literally it's listening to hip hop is like listening to a history of music. It's brought me to the depths of old soul, jazz, classic rock, and what it brought me to was it brought me to reggae, which is a big deal to me, and it brought me to Indian music. The first times I really took notice of Indian instrumentation was from records, old records, that hip hop tracks that sampled old Indian records, and so I fell in love. It felt, there was something that felt kind of like home, listening to Indian music. And I didn't realize that there was devotional music wrapped up within the classical, within classical music. And I go back to records I used to listen to, and I'm like, I never knew that was like Om Namah Shivaya or whatever, Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Like, I go back and like, oh my God, like I know what that means now, and I didn't know I was listening to it 20-something years ago. So that's where my style comes from. I was a DJ first, and then started producing music in the late 90s. And then she literally, like, there's pictures of her in jazz clubs in like Oakland and San Francisco with her dad. So that's where her roots in music come from. Yeah.
That's beautiful. There are quite a few questions I see happening. So I don't want to, Marty, if you want to add to that, feel free. And then also, what do you mean by brahmacharya? The question came up.
I don't know that I said anything about brahmacharya, as in the Brahmins as leading to, leading to God, or I might be confused about what that question is asking.
I'm not sure when it popped up, but brahmacharya is as moderation in the 8 limbs of yoga. So I'm not sure if that fits into the context or not, but that question was raised. If you have anything to share about
Let me try and find it. Is somebody retyping it?
it was Jessica Edmondson, and she says, "Is that a weird question?" No, that's not a weird question.
Can you just repeat the actual question?
Yeah, let me.
I might not have an answer.
Yeah, no, it's all good. Don't.
In the moderation of my personal practice, or in my life practice?
I don't know. That's a stressful question. It's for the end of the evening.
Well, I can just speak to, I am a person of extremes. I know that about myself. I don't do drugs because I will probably become very addicted to drugs. And other practices. And my practices help me to walk a more middle path, a more balanced path. And for me, that's not extreme one way in the studies or in the not caring way. I hope this is kind of in alignment with maybe the question. I do feel studies are important, and I will tell you that I grew up a jazz singer just naturally in my house. My dad is a jazz pianist. I think he said that already. But later on, I went to school. I went to an arts high school, and then I went to college to study jazz. And that's where I started having lots of problems because of my nature. And what we had were people deconstructing the art and practice of jazz music, which is also a Black music, or a foundation in Black music and Black culture. And primarily all of these instructors were white. I studied with some white jazz teachers who had a lot of criticisms about how I sang and my choices, my artistic choices. And I mean real jazz music, if you know jazz music. It broke my heart, actually, because I took it so seriously and I valued every single thing they said. And it actually shut down my artistic creativity to the point of not really wanting to do it anymore, which was a big suffering for me. And it was actually this practice of yoga and this bhakti practice that helped to bring the music back alive in my being, my spirit, and soul. And so I try not to grasp too hard on the deconstruction and reconstructing of things. That I think learning the rules and learning the history are important. But we don't want to miss the soul part that lights it all up. You know what I mean? That makes it real for you, a living truth that is real for you. You know what I mean? So we kind of sometimes have to do what Miles Davis said, which is to learn it all and then kind of forget it all. You know? Or just like how I hung so hard on that Saraswati pronunciation, why that wrecked me for like 6 months of my life, which is so ridiculous. You know what I mean? When I'm sharing, when I'm just sharing caring for community. You know, so there is a balance for me. I want it to be rooted in something real, and I want to be careful not to overanalyze what it is I'm sharing, and that's how I can bring it into what it is that we do. That it also is infused with my spirit and my art and my creativity, and that's what keeps me alive. Truly, when I was not making music, I did not feel alive. I felt stuck, and blocked, and caged. So yeah, it was a big learning experience. Do I regret it? No, I'm degreed. I had an experience. I learned a lot for sure, you know. And it was part of my path to learn how to navigate that, to learn how to kind of tame those extremes, to soften around those edges.
That's beautiful.
Hopefully that was useful.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, if that's...
One more question came in. Jazz, John Kingsley, who's a student in cohort 7, low residency track, he's saying jazz is a broad term. He wants to know, and he's a musician himself, a traveling musician, so he wants to know who exactly were your influences.
Well, monk had it straight. It's out of time when you wait. You got to be on. You got to be strong. The time is here. So trust your life to your ear. Don't wait for no one. They'll have to go on because the moment is the place where it happens, and there's no one who can help get it straight. No. Right? So there's a version. A monk tune who somebody did some vocalese to that. I think it was Lambert, Hendricks, and Ross. Probably Hendricks who wrote the lyrics. And then there's, never let me go, love me much too much. If you let me go, life would lose its touch. We know that's not true, right? What would I be without you? There's no place to be without you. Who writes this kind of song? No wonder why I was depressed and like messed up. Never let me go, I'd be so lost if you went away. There'd be 1,000 hours in a day. So dramatic, right? Without you, I know, because of one caress, my world was overturned. That's why we need our yoga. Because we're truly not alone. Those songs make us feel like, yeah, we're so alone. And the song you replay over and over and over again. And just this, down in the depths. But we know that that's not true, that we're true and we're never really truly alone. I stopped singing those songs, but they live in me too. Those are parts of who I am, for sure. Did that help out a little bit?
Absolutely.
To actually answer your question is... Miles Davis is big in our home, and of course, like John Coltrane, like two of the typical, but like Pharoah Sanders, Carmen McRae, Shirley Horn, and then into Sun Ra and all the,
Yeah, all of that. That's it just lives in me. It's in my blood, from musicians and my dad's family, lots of musicians. So it is who we are. And I'm grateful for that. I'm so thankful for that. I'm so, part of what you love is Black music that's coming from this, Yes, it's the spiritual stuff, but in that Black music is also spirituality happening too. And they're intertwining together. And people say, oh, great for making it accessible. And if that is making it more accessible, what did you want to say?
No, I wanted to say just the importance of feeling and going with what feels good. It's and back to like deconstructing to the point of literally deconstructing. I hear like musicians or DJs in the conscious music world or whatever, and they're like, yeah, no, I'm doing a 432 hertz set, and that's the divine thing and all this stuff. And I go and I listen and I'm like, some of it's okay, whatever, but it doesn't have that feeling. You could put on a Bob Marley tune or put on a jazz, whatever, kind of blue song or whatever, that has a feeling that is undeniable, where you're not thinking about all the technical things. Another thing, it's funny because the academic side of things could make it hard to understand. But there's a weird kind of like hippie thing too that people do, and they start talking about sacred geometry and things like that, and like why, and then they get into it and they start talking about things where if you're a teacher, part of teaching is speaking in a way of where people could understand. And like, what about, instead of all the weird things you just said, what about just nature or God works in repetition? And that is what sacred geometry and why it's important. Things that, And music is the same way. I think it's important that we simply create and do things that feel good. Yeah, ish. And sometimes not.
I'm going to share a little bit that is in alignment with yoga if you listen to the lyrics. I'll share it with you if Drez is so kind. And if you guys have time, and don't stay if you don't have time. We're just doing this. No complaints and no regrets. I still believe in chasing dreams and placing bets. But I have learned that all you give is all you get. So give it all you've got. I've had my share, I've drank my fill. And even though I'm satisfied, I'm hungry still to see what's down another road beyond the hill and do it all again. Or do it all again and again and again and again, right? So here's to life and every joy it brings. So here's to life, dreamers and their dreams. Funny how time just flies, how love can go from warm hellos to sad goodbyes and leave you with the memories you've memorized that keep your winters warm. For there's no yes in yesterday, and who knows what tomorrow brings or takes away. As long as I'm still in the game, I want to play for laughs, for life, for love. This is yoga right here. So here's to life and every joy it brings. So here's to life, dreamers and their dreams. Here it is. May all your storms be weathered. May all that's good get better. Here's to life. Here's to love. Here's to you. And I want to give thanks to the Utah Orchestra here, led by DJ Drez. And it's okay if it brought a tear to your eye, because seriously, I don't know if I should laugh or cry. But I seriously, if you listen, right? If you listen, may all your storms be weathered. That's all we're trying to do, is weather our storms in this life of humanity. May all that's good get better. And we have to have hope and faith. So we practice the bhakti. Here's to life. And we wish each other well, and we take care of each other. Here's to love. We're wishing it for you. We have it, and we wish it for you too. Yeah? Here's to you. So there it is. Our yoga in English. Thank you all so much. Guess what? We have to go. We have my 3-year-old who needs dinner and my son. So we appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you immensely. Thank you everyone who arrived here, present and throughout the day today. Thank you so much for sharing in space. I think it's beyond words that we're all together in this current situation, having this moment. So thank you so much, DJ Drez and Marty, for leading us in this.